Hello, I am Captain Belafonte, and welcome to the Banana Boat. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
A 1,
Greetings and welcome to another episode of A Very Odd Caster. I am your host, the Caster. Today we're going to start by following up on a theme from last week, this entitlement theme. We talked about how every performance, every speech seems to get a standing ovation these days, whether it really warrants it or not. We also talked about how everybody seems to deserve a tip or think they deserve a tip, no matter what they do, good or bad, or how much. Following up on that theme, there was an article in Newsweek online just the other day from a familiar name, the Emeritus Professor of Law at Harvard Law School, the notorious Alan Dershowitz. Dershowitz, of course, was initially famous for a lot of us for defending O.J. Simpson in his trial, successfully, I might add. Well, successfully for O.J. More recently, Dershowitz has drawn the ire of a lot of people for his defense of a certain former president of the United States, who shall remain nameless. Otherwise, I will get an electric shock and a big loud buzzer in my ear, because I'm not allowed to talk about politics here directly. So Dershowitz wrote this article in Newsweek that was posted just the other day called "Colleges Are Now a Breeding Ground for Mediocrity, Not Meritocracy. Opinion." So this falls in line with the standing ovations and the tips for not doing anything. This is kind of a touchy topic because it can easily branch off into some sensitive areas. So I'm going to kind of read through Dershowitz's article here. The decision of New York University not to renew the contract of one of the most distinguished professors of organic chemistry is a sign of the times. Academic standards in general have been consistently lowered over the past several decades. That should come as no surprise, because standards for admission to colleges and universities have been lowered as well. To the extent that meritocracy is replaced by other factors, such as identity politics, his words, not mine, the standards will continue to diminish. It is not surprising that universities will have to lower academic standards for performance if they lower academic standards for admission. It would be unfair to admit some students on lower academic admission standards and then impose historic performance standards on them. That would make it difficult for them to compete against students who had to meet more rigorous standards for admission. This won't be as obvious in some subjects, yada, 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 but it will be obvious in courses like organic chemistry, where identity politics play no role in grading. That is why some, but by no means most, of Professor Maitland Jones Jr.'s students petitioned against him, and why his contract was not renewed. By that criteria, Dershowitz writes, Nobel Prize-winning scientists would not be hired if they demanded high performance from their students. Then he poses this question. But what about the students who can't meet the high standards of the most accomplished teachers? Should they be prevented from being admitted to medical school by receiving a B- or C+ in a hard course. Perhaps there should be 2 sections of organic chemistry, one that is highly demanding and one less so. In that way, the best students would not suffer from a reduction in standards, while the less qualified ones would get their B+ and A- grades. But medical schools would know which section the applicant chose and would prefer the student from the more demanding section. That is how it should be. We want doctors who have excelled by the hardest standards. No, we don't. And in this next section, he takes on the dumb jock. Colleges have long lowered the expected standards for students admitted for their athletic rather than their academic accomplishments. There were easy courses such as geology, known as rocks for jocks, when Dershowitz was in college too. Time. I took geology in college, all right? I didn't do that great in it either. Why did I not do that great in it? It was boring. That was actually my problem throughout school. Anything that was boring, I would usually not get a very good grade. Sometimes a really bad grade. Because if you had a camera in those classrooms panning the class and seeing all their expressions, when you would get to me, I'd be like this. Classes that I was interested in, I did pretty good. So there. So listen, Dershowitz, don't use geology as an example. But I digress. Pre-med students stayed away from such gut classes. They took organic chemistry and worked their butts off to get good grades in them. Some did, some didn't. But no one suggested lowering the standards for pre-med. The ultimate losers in today's everyone gets a trophy mentality are the best students who work the hardest. That includes students from non-elite backgrounds who have to get good grades to compete with the familial and class advantages of the elite, the real privileged. Today it is class rather than race that gives the greatest advantages. Woohoo! So now he's getting started. And this is where people start pacing around their cages, right? Race-based rather than class-based affirmative action makes wealthy and well-prepared black students doubly advantaged, while punishing working-class white students with a double disadvantage. This double disadvantage can be overcome by rigorous and meritocratic grading. I can't pronounce that because I never used the damn word. I'm going to go read a book on geology. Especially in tough courses like organic chemistry, where not everyone wins the prize. So folks, I'm just reading it here, right? I didn't write the thing. I'm just reading it. I'll put my foot in my mouth in just a minute. We continue. The Maitland-Jones case is symptomatic of an even greater current threat to meritocracy: the elimination of grades and admission tests. Yeah, that's a real good idea. If grades and test scores are eliminated, as universities are being pressured to do, what criteria will be employed to determine who our surgeons, pilots, engineers, and lawyers will be? Will it be identity politics? Personality? Buttering up professors? Privileged backgrounds? No, Alan, none of those things. It will be determined by ping pong tournaments. Dershowitz goes on to say, these subjective criteria will hurt the less privileged more than rigorous and neutral grading. He then goes on to share an experience he had back after graduating from Yale Law School in 1962. Damn, he's old. He was first in his class and whatnot. He was explaining how he was passed over for summer jobs that went to other of his fellow classmates who were sort of middle of the pack students. He thinks it was a combination of elitism and cronyism and good old-fashioned anti-Semitism. And then he eventually, from Jewish firms or mixed firms, got a few offers because of his high grades. And he basically says that without those high grades, he would have gotten nothing. And he says, in a world where everyone got trophies, I could not have stood out. Then he writes, there are no free lunches when it comes to academic standards. Some may benefit, at least temporarily, from lowering the standards, while others may suffer from losing the competitive advantages of meritocracy based on high standards. The ultimate losers from low standards are all Americans who will receive substandard care from those whose job it is to protect us from harm. Doctors, engineers, pilots, lawyers, police, firefighters, etc. Keeping the standards high and taking steps to help students and applicants achieve these high standards will serve all of us better than handing out orange slices and trophies to everyone. And it might even save lives. Woo-wee! Well, a lot to unpack there. And Dershowitz is an interesting guy. I mean, he, has made a lot of enemies over the years with kind of blunt stuff like that. The whole college thing's a big mess. You should, if you've looked at the cost of tuition at some of these schools, it's insane. It's totally insane. And yet, in the keeping up with the Joneses culture that we live in, and that's a topic for another day, there's this pressure to, little Jimmy got accepted into such and such, right? Yeah, so we're taking out $80,000, $100,000 in loans, And who's supposed to pay for that crap, man? A lot of times it's the kid and they don't even know it. When they're 18, they don't know. They're still in that mode where, Ralph's going to this school, I guess maybe I'll do the same. They're just trying to keep pace with everybody. Yeah, 17, 18 years of age, these kids can't make those kind of decisions with the long haul in mind. It's up to parenting. Imagine that. But the parents are too busy comparing Jimmy with Johnny or Susie with Sally, right? So, yeah, at the end of the day, there's a tab involved. And, there's all that. But really, that's kind of not what Dershowitz is talking about. He covers that, but he's talking about what happens at the end of the line if you lower the standards, based on identity politics. Well, I just think, good students should be going to school, if they want to, regardless how broke they are or how rich they are. But the ones who are poor or lower income, they're the ones that need a little helping hand, shall we say. Anyhow, interesting stuff there by Dershowitz, who, just seems to be thriving on antagonizing people. But I actually respect people who present an honest opinion, even if it goes against the grain of Twitter. Now, on to another topic here. This article caught my eye. The headline said, "Men are surprisingly supportive of a male birth control pill." Keep that headline in mind as we cover this article. Men are surprisingly supportive of a male birth control pill. And then the subheading is where it goes in another direction, which is a good thing, to be clear. It's about time we pulled our weight. And then a subhead that says, "Why are researchers so hell-bent on creating a perfect male birth control pill?" But men are surprisingly supportive of a male birth control pill. This was written by a writer by the name of Tanner Garrity. This was with InsideHook.com. Tanner writes, in 2011, a study about male birth control was put on hold due to hormone-related side effects, namely mood swings and depression, which is interesting considering that unpleasant changes in mood is one of the most cited side effects by women taking the pill. So right there, you see Tanner's angle, which again is counter of the headline, which says, "Men are surprisingly supportive of a male birth control pill." So Tanner, if you look throughout the animal kingdom, females are the ones that carry the babies. I'm not getting into all this, but it's just a fact, right? So when you're weighing medication, any kind of medication, you should be weighing the side effects, right? Oh geez, I'd like to take this, but it says it does this, or I can't mix it with this other drug, which I really need for this, right? So you're always weighing this, and it's not fair, but when you're talking about birth control, the deck is stacked against the ladies. That's why they're so incredible. But Tanner, stop pretending there's no difference, So Tanner's whole premise here, and I presume Tanner is a male. I'm not really sure. I think Tanner is a male name. His whole premise is that everything is equal. So if women have to put up with this, then men should have to put up with it. And it's like, again, you're weighing risks, right? He writes, "The adjective most commonly associated with the development of a male birth control pill is elusive. Why?" asks Tanner. "Well," answers Tanner, "for such a pill to be standardized amongst men, the conventional thinking goes, it needs to be perfect. It should leave no tangible trace on the body or brain. But that Goldilocks quest is why there was virtually zero progress in male birth control for almost 40 years. As Dr. Christina Chung-Lung Wang of the Lundquist Institute recently wrote for The Conversation, there has not been a new form of male birth control since the introduction of the no-scalpel vasectomy in the 1980s. No scalpel. So that means there used to be a scalpel? Yeah. Tanner goes on to write, "This spring produced a breakthrough. A new male birth control pill was introduced at the American Chemical Society, alongside some compelling research. Clinical trials on male mice displayed 99% effectiveness at preventing pregnancy. And crucially, the pill is billed as non-hormonal. It's commendable that endocrinologists have spent years trying to avoid tampering with testosterone. In the case of one male contraceptive gel, for instance, researchers worked to preserve men's low-pitched voices. But compared to the inevitable collateral of female birth control, it all feels mildly ridiculous. I agree, Tanner, and that's why I agreed to participate in one of those studies with male birth control pills.
So he goes on to write, consider 98% of sexually active women use birth control at some point in time. So basically all of them. So you're dissing the 2%, aren't you there, Tanner? The pill affects different women in different ways, but the slate of side effects is robust. Soreness, nausea, headaches, the aforementioned changes in mood. This arrangement has been the norm for half a century now.
Okay. Well, so yes, I would be fine with a male birth control pill. But just don't take away my low voice, okay? Because what am I gonna do then? Besides, there's still the vasectomy. And that leads us to a word from today's make-believe sponsor. Today's make-believe sponsor is frozen bird's eye peas. Not only are frozen bird's eye peas filled with fiber and protein and are low on sodium, but they're also a great remedy after you've had a vasectomy. Just place a frozen bag of bird's eye peas on your chair, have a seat, and works great. But I'll tell you what works even better. A bag of frozen black-eyed peas. Just place a bag of frozen black-eyed peas on your chair and have a seat. And you may even want to break out in song. And now, turning to the world of sports. The baseball playoffs are still in full swing. And one thing the Cleveland, New York series has proved to me is that I want Bob Costas to shut the hell up. You know, he used to be like my favorite broadcaster back in the day, a long time ago. But he just grates on my nerves. He won't shut up. I think for me, the turning point happened back in the Atlanta Summer Olympics, 96, I guess it was. He was broadcasting the opening ceremonies. I think he broadcast most of the Olympics. But he was broadcasting the opening ceremonies, and the guy was driving me insane. He had something to say about every country, and unintentionally, he was like insulting them. I just wanted him to shut up. And for me, the final straw was when the contingent from Fiji, all 7 of them, started marching out, smiling, waving with their flag. Costas said something like, "And here comes the contingent from Fiji. They've never won a gold medal." And I'm just like, this guy loves the sound of his own voice. And he's just been a disaster in the Yankees Gandhian series. Speaking of that, there's actually a meme I'd like to put up there on the screen. There he is himself. It says, "We Gandhians are men of peace, but I'd still like to bitch slap Bob Costas." Words were never truer. There's a couple other memes I'd like to share right now. This is also on the theme of the Guardians. Some of the folks in Cleveland, a minority, who are cool with the name Guardians, are celebrating the team's success by leading this chant, "Go Guards!" That is something I refuse to participate in, unless, of course, I'm leading the chant for the Baywatch lifeguards. Then I'll say, "Go Guards" all night. Memes are always a great thing here. So I'm going to pull a meme that I got off of a Facebook post here, and want to share this with you. It's a little off color, but hey. And here it is. "I understand how you get Bob from Robert and Bill from William, but how do you get Dick from Richard? Ask him nicely." Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be here every Thursday. One more visual here. This isn't exactly a meme. It could be. It's actually an ad from Amazon.com. It says, "Explore new toys and games from Amazon." And there you see it. Geez, when did Amazon get into Jurassic porn? And those are today's memes. That's all for this week. I hope you have a great weekend. Look forward to doing it again next week. Ciao.